launched its shop price index 17 years ago. Well, the BRC said its broader measure of shop price annual inflation accelerated to 6.6% in October, up from 5.7% in September. It added that while some supply chain costs were beginning to fall, this had been more than offset by the cost of energy. And staying with retail, Next said this morning that its full price sales during the 13 weeks to last Saturday were up 0.4% on the same period last year. The high street fashion retailer said this was slightly ahead of its expectations, and it credited one particularly strong week at the end of September when temperatures dropped and sales of heavier weight products improved. It added that it continues to expect full price sales for the rest of its current financial year, which ends in January, to be down 2% on last year. And shares of the drug maker GSK have risen by more than 1.25% this morning after it raised its profit forecast for the year. The company, which recently demerged its consumer healthcare business, reported an adjusted operating profit of £2.6 billion for the 3 months to the end of September. That was up 18% on the same period last year in sterling terms and up 4% on a constant exchange rate basis. And that was better than expected. Well, Dame Emma Walmsley, the chief executive, credited record sales for the company's shingles vaccine Shingrix for helping drive growth. Now, 2 weeks tomorrow, the new Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, will be unveiling his autumn statement with tax increases widely expected. That could include an assault on the tax relief enjoyed by workers on their pension contributions. And if that happens, it may well encourage further interest in venture capital trusts, tax-efficient vehicles, which enable savers to back entrepreneurs and startups. Well, joining me now is Trevor Hope. He's Chief Investment Officer for Venture Capital Trust at Gresham House. Trevor, welcome to you. I mean, the recent mini budget appeared to spare VCTs. Do you think the autumn statement will entrench that?
Well, it was great to hear from the government in terms of their indication that they were supporting VCTs moving forward and beyond 2025. So that was great news. We'd like confirmation of that from the government and effectively sort of just reassurance for investors into VCTs. Now, VCTs are a significant vehicle for investing in small and medium-sized enterprises around the UK. So it's a great thing. It's been supported over a number of decades now, and hopefully that continues.
Are the current rules governing VCTs doing enough to enable your business to support small companies?
Yeah, the VCTs, with the tax allowance they provide to private investors to invest into the VCTs, is a great start. So it encourages private investment into small and medium-sized enterprises. In addition to that, some of the rules are around the age of a company, the scale of a company, and I think there could be more that VCTs could do. Currently, we are investing across the VCT industry over £500 million on average a year into those small and medium-sized enterprises. We could do more if some of those rules around the size of a company or actually the age of a company, so that actually VCTs are limited in terms of the age of a company beyond 7 years that we can invest in. It'd be great to see that sort of loosened or reduced in terms of some of those restrictions.
And Trevor, I should have declared an interest at the start of this interview. I do have small holdings in some of the VCTs that your business manages. Now, you have two sets of VTs under management, Baronsmead and Mobius. Is there much of a difference in approach between the two?
There is a bit of a difference in terms of the strategies of the VCTs. The Mobius VCTs, we have 4 of them. We've just got a current fundraising actually ongoing at the moment, which has been very successful in terms of raising an additional sort of £44 million within a day from our investors, which has been great. Their strategy is to invest in private companies, purely private companies which are looking to scale, to grow and to hopefully become international sort of world leaders. The Baronsmead VCTs, 2 VCTs, which will be having a funding offering early next year, actually has a hybrid approach. Private companies as the Mobius VCTs, but also in terms of public companies on AIM as well. So sort of a dual approach there in terms of the strategy for the Baronsmead VCTs.
You've just completed a fundraising for Mobius, I think of some £62 million. I mean, clearly there is absolutely no shortage of appetite among investors.
One of the great things about VCTs is, of course, the sort of tax relief for private investors to come on board. That's very attractive in terms of making investments into an area which private investors might not do. You talked about sort of pensions and sort of some of the restrictions around those areas. And lots of people are now using sort of VCTs to effectively to provide maybe a portfolio around their sort of pension planning, which is great and also helpful to UK PLC in terms of those SMEs being supported. In terms of our fundraising, yes, we've got great support in terms of the market. The Mobius VCTs launched an offering of up to £76 million. As I mentioned, we were very sort of pleased to receive £44 million within a day, effectively, in terms of from investors, including existing investors. And that funding is still open, and we've probably got about £10 million worth of capacity still there, which we expect to close in the next couple of weeks. In addition to that, Barron's Mead VCTs will be launching in January of next year, and then we expect to do a fundraising for those funds, and again, hopefully supported by some private investors based upon our track record and those tax allowances that I mentioned.
Briefly, Trevor, we're emerging from a sort of 15-year period of interest rates being at more or less zero. Things are changing now. Does that mean your job gets more difficult? Are the attitudes of investment managers having to change with the times?
Yeah, I think we there's two parts to that. One, in terms of the investors into our funds, we need to, and we've shown that historically, that we can provide a strong level of performance effectively, which, as interest rates go up, people will have choices where they want to put their capital, perhaps into deposits, etc. So we have to prove and continue to prove that and deliver performance. In addition to that, from a portfolio perspective, interest rates going up, a lot of companies may well have some level of debt, which effectively they will see their interest charges go up, which will impact their cash flows. We're quite fortunate in terms of our portfolio. We have over 70 companies that we back and support, and we actually sort of provide the capital mostly from our funds rather than third-party debt, and therefore interest rates going up shouldn't have a significant impact on our companies. But of course, inflation, additional costs, wage inflation, etc., lack of consumer confidence are all sort of risks to businesses generally, including small and medium-sized enterprises.
All right, Trevor, there's loads more I wanted to ask you, but I'm afraid we're out of time. So hopefully we'll see you again another day. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks, Ian.
Now, we've heard a lot in recent months about how airlines are increasingly turning to sustainable aviation fuel. That's fuel made from sustainable feedstocks, such as cooking oil or non-palm waste oils from animals or plants. Well, today, IAG, the owner of British Airways, announced it is investing in a project to build the UK's first sustainable aviation fuel facility using agricultural and food waste taken from sustainable sources. Well, that technology was devised by Redcar-based Nova Pangaea Technologies, whose chief executive, Sarah Ellaby, joins me now. Sarah, welcome to you. How much is it going to cost to build this facility?
Well, of course, it's, these type of technologies, of course, are quite capital intensive. But of course, significant investment needs to be, accelerated into these projects. So, of course, we need public and private sector coming together to invest in these projects and accelerate the scale up.
And will the investment from IAG enable this facility to go ahead? Are you looking for additional sources of capital?
No, absolutely. So we've completed phase one of the feasibility. Of course, we're moving into phase two, and that will take us through to March of next year. So, of course, one step closer to delivering sustainable aviation fuel and securing that energy source in the UK.
And what's the timescale? When do you expect this to be up and running and producing sustainable aviation fuel?
So what we're looking to do at Nova is where we currently have a demonstration unit that is operating on a daily basis. We are producing sustainable sugars and biochar on a daily basis. And what we're looking to do is scale out the technology and move into commercialization next year. Of course, our technology unlocks that critical pathway of bioethanol that will deliver SAF. And of course, Project Speedbird is scheduled to be online in 2026.
And where will you be sourcing the waste from, the feedstock?
So our technology is quite agnostic when it comes to sustainable feedstock. So we're not dependent on one sustainable feedstock, such as, agricultural waste or woody waste. We can use feedstocks such as wheat straw, sugarcane bagasse, various waste wood products, and these will be sourced locally. A big part of our differentiation with Nova Pangaea is it allows us to place the unit at the source of the feedstock, which is obviously reduces transportation and reduces CO2 emissions.
And briefly, Sarah, if you would please, how does the UK compare with its continental European peers in the production of SAF?
Well, of course, the production of SAF is very, very small, 0.04% of what's required. I think, with Project Speedbird and this announcement, we are definitely leading the way to unlock SAF in the UK. So again, this is a fantastic opportunity for British innovation and the UK to really be on the forefront of unlocking sustainable aviation fuel and ultimately decarbonising the aviation sector.
All right, Sarah, we have to leave it there. Hope to see you again in future. It's a fascinating story.
Thank you.
Well, stocks in the Asia-Pacific region saw mixed trade overnight, with gains in Sydney, Hong Kong and Shanghai, but reverses in Tokyo and in Mumbai, which is not on the screen. Well, actually, look at that. Only Tokyo in the end finished lower on the day. Yeah. In Europe, stocks have been mixed so far this morning. Here's the current picture. The DAX in Germany and the IBEX in Madrid in negative territory. The CAC 40 in France and the MIB in Milan in positive territory. Talking points in Europe this morning include Maersk. Shares of the world's biggest container shipping company are down nearly 6% in Copenhagen. And that is after it warned of slowing demand and a peaking in freight rates. Very important bellwether for global trade, that company. Well, here in London, the FTSE 100 is in negative territory right now. Currently, it's off some 10 points. Also, financial stocks are weighing on the index. The heavyweight British American tobacco is also weighing on the index. That's clipped 11 points from the FTSE on its own. That is on the back of comment from one of the brokers this morning. The biggest blue chip faller in percentage terms, however, is the paper and packaging group Smurfit Kappa. The shares off by nearly 3.75%. That's after the company warned that recent growth in e-commerce packaging volumes is unsustainable. And that has dragged lower its competitors DS Smith and Mondi, which you can see on the screen there. Mondi off by nearly 2%. Well, outside the FTSE 100, the venture capital group Molten Ventures, I'll put my dentures back in, is up 6% on a trading update. But Aston Martin Lagonda, the shares off there by some 14%. That's after the car maker warned of ongoing supply chain issues. On the foreign exchange markets, well, it's pretty quiet, to be honest, ahead of today's statement from the US Federal Reserve. As you can see, sterling is up very, very slightly against the greenback and off very slightly against the euro. Meanwhile, the single currency is up by 0.25% right now against the dollar. The oil price is also little changed this morning. I think I can show you a barrel of Brent crude currently off 1/3%. It will set you back right now, $94.33 a barrel. Joining me now is Craig Earlham. He's senior market analyst at Oanda. Craig, welcome to you. We talked earlier about the Fed. I mean, that's really the big event of probably this week, really. I mean, FX market's pretty quiet this morning.
Yeah, I mean, and that's saying a lot because this week we've got the Bank of England, the jobs report in the US, earnings season still very much going on in the background as well. But the Fed is very much front and center. It really does drive everything right now, what the US central bank is doing and whether it's going to raise interest rates into a recession or whether it can achieve that soft landing that it's so craved throughout the course of this year. Another 75 basis points is fully priced into the markets at this point. It's all about the communication. Are they going to leave the door open to a slower pace of tightening in December, allowing the exit effectively from this monetary tightening that we've seen throughout the course of this year? Any hint that we are going to see a slower pace of tightening from the next meeting in December is going to likely get a very positive reaction in the markets. But up until that point, until we get that confirmation, or at least until we get that hint, then we're going to see a bit of anxiety and a bit of caution in the markets. We've seen choppy trading this week, and you can see things looking a little flat already today.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on the equity markets. I mean, John Wynne Evans from Investec, who we spoke with earlier in the week, he suggested that if the Fed did prove more dovish today, you could see the S&P 500 rising by as much as 10 to 12%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bullish call. But I think if we take a look at recent history with regards to any signs of dovishness, the markets have reacted very positively. That hasn't only come from actual Fed speak, it's come from certain comments that you've heard from certain policymakers. It's even at one point come from some of the pieces of economic data which don't normally get as much traction. There was a point a few weeks ago when the manufacturing PMI pointed to slight softening in price pressures, and that indicated we could potentially see lower inflation down the road. And markets were very positive on the back of this. I think when we've seen such a sell-off as we've seen over the course of this year, when we look back as to how often we actually see a sell-off of this magnitude, it's very, very infrequent. So naturally, investors are looking for any opportunity, it seems, to get back in and get it back in early, just ahead of the turnaround. The problem they've had this year so far is that turnaround hasn't really arrived, and we keep seeing this aggressive rate tightening. If we see the Fed start to ease away from that, maybe signal they're ready to take the foot off the brake a little bit, then we could potentially see a very positive reaction.
Now, the market in gilts, UK government bonds, has obviously been in focus over recent weeks. The Bank of England, as we trailed yesterday, began unwinding some of its asset purchases, quantitative tightening. It actually went quite well yesterday, didn't it?
It did. We're talking relatively small volumes at this point in time, so it's really testing the water, but so far so good. They've been buying up huge amounts of government bonds, as have all central banks around the world over the last decade or so. And they're testing the water with a small offering. Now, we'll see if this continues. Obviously, market conditions are much better now than they were 3 weeks ago, and I think that helps that fact. How well it will go in the future may well depend on the autumn statement in a few weeks' time, and whether Rishi Sunak and his Chancellor Jeremy Hunt can convince the markets that they've got a credible, sustainable plan. And if they can, then that will allow the Bank of England to continue this, and maybe other central banks around the world will look to the UK and see this as an option for them as well, because the UK is at the forefront of this at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we broke earlier on in the programme, Craig, the news that Rishi Sunak is going to go to COP27 in Egypt after all. He previously said that he wanted to focus on the autumn statement. Should we deduce from that decision that the autumn statement is now nailed down and they know exactly what they want to do?
I would love to think so, but I think that probably political pressure has been applied here, and I think one of his predecessors, his former boss, Boris Johnson, attending has probably threatened to upstage him somewhat, and maybe he's decided that it wasn't the wisest decision in the world to decide he wasn't going to go to something that most countries around the world see as being an incredibly important event, one that the UK has been very much at the forefront of obviously leading it over the last year or so. And I think he realised that it wasn't the wisest decision he's ever made to decide that he wasn't going to attend. That doesn't mean that they haven't put forward a credible plan and they're not working towards a solution, and they're not prepared for this autumn statement. But I'm not necessarily sure anything has massively changed on that sense over the course of the last week, so which has led to this decision change.
Now, further away from here, we saw big rise yesterday in Hong Kong and Shanghai on the equity markets. Following this, it was a social media posting, as much as anything, suggesting that China was looking at easing some of its border restrictions next year. Do we know where that came from? Is there any substance to this?
Well, as yet, there's very little substance. And in fact, there's actually been suggestions that this has been denied from certain officials. So it's a very strange story. That doesn't mean that there's no foundation. It's not the old thing, there's no smoke without fire. It seems to have gained some traction. And we've seen 2 days of rallies in the markets. Yesterday, around 5%. Today, a little bit less. So it's clearly gaining some traction in the markets. But I think there's two things I'd really highlight in respect to this. One is any loosening of restrictions we're going to see in relation to COVID in China, I can't imagine is going to be that severe at this point. They've taken a very cautious approach over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. And this idea that we're going to see a sudden relaxation of it to any significant extent seems a bit far-fetched to me. So I think we've got to take these rumours and these Twitter posts with a pinch of salt. That doesn't mean they're not looking to slightly soften the restrictions they have in place, but I don't think we should expect anything too extreme. The other thing I think is always worth highlighting is where are markets when these reports are released? And that is sometimes enables you to explain why we see such big moves. And this comes back to what I was saying earlier, maybe what your guest was alluding to earlier as well, in that these markets have sold off very heavily. A lot of bad news and a lot of bad forecasts and a lot of bad events have now been priced into these markets. They're trading at extremely low levels. So any hint of good news can sometimes just get outsized reactions. And I think that's certainly what we're seeing in China at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, there are some really wacky stories coming out of China more broadly. I mean, I see Shanghai Disneyland was basically shut the other day because there was a single case of COVID reporting there. Why aren't investors freaking out at this sort of stuff? I mean, again, Foxconn, which is where they do a lot of manufacturing for Apple. Again, the area around their facilities been put into lockdown today, I gather. I mean, these are really
of my business. Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and intact? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination intact. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out.
He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of digging the hole of darkness.
So what did that?
Myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clemens, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Broadcasting live online. Turn it on. Turn it up.
Body, it's your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Starr Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we they call them London. And I sabi you know, just have fun and stay blessed.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
The best radio show.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is UK. Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio. Starr Radio. Radio for the people. By
This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome.
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. We want to salute each and every one of you and once again say welcome to the Starr Radio UK Wednesday edition of the morning show. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning show.
Let me say massive good morning to Bishop Adesina Adeyemo. Yes, good morning, sir. to my team this morning, Mr. Frank Davis, Mr. Olayomi Koike, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. I salute each and every one of you, gentlemen. To our presenters on Star Radio UK, I salute you. Alicia, I hope you are doing very, very well. Long time no hear. And I'm saying good morning to Moses. Yes, Moses, Sir Moses. I hope you are doing very well. Anthony Adede G, Aziz, Miss Gold, Casino, Amaya, and all you guys who listen to us across the globe. I salute each and every one of you, especially those of you on the African continent. I salute you, especially in Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, South Africa, and all the neighboring countries there. I salute you because I know it costs you an arm and a leg, yet you continue to listen to us every time we are on, and I'm so grateful to you, and I say thank you very much. Let me say good morning to those of you in Americas, those of you in Europe, those of you in Asia and Australia as well. We're playing in the background something from Edith Morrison, and it says, Onyamiye, God is good. And as we say, I hope that Nigeria is not happening to you and you are all doing very, very well. Once again, welcome. But share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. But let me say special good morning to Pat Kusi. That's a maiden name. Your lovely mom. I remember when we were young, when we were little, and then I would go to the house, and this lady would cook for us and make sure she was a mother to us. Auntie Agi. I say may her soul rest in perfect peace. I just saw the information this morning whilst I was just trying to do the setup. It's a very, very sad one. I have a heavy heart, but I thank God for her life. She did well. Let me say good morning to Prince Abimbola Oshode. Yes, good morning, Mr. Archie and White Lion. Good morning to you, Prince. Okay, so for those of you tuning in for the first time on Wednesday edition of the morning show, this is how the program goes. Today, the second day of November, the year 2022. Let me say a special good morning also to my lovely friend Maybe Sakufu and to Tete. I call him the boss man. Alright then. Now, I will bring you a quick-updated weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update as well. We'll move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. Then from there, we'll look at some of the stories making the rounds in Nigeria. That is from updates from Nigeria with Mr. Olayomi Koike exactly at 11 o'clock. We'll continue at 11:30. I'll open the lines for you to add your voice to the discussions. At 12 o'clock, I'll take you straight to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. Then after that, we'll bring the curtains down for the end of the program. So in a gist, that's what's going to be happening today. But once again, welcome on board. Share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. Post your comments on any of the platforms that we are operating on, and I promise you one thing for sure, I'm gonna read that out. Alonji say good morning to you, sir. Today says channel your energy into finding a solution if one is to be found, or into other things that are within your control. And I can tell you that for a couple of days now, for about a week now, I've been trying to do so. It's quite, I think it get very stressful, but you try to try to do as much as you can do, and that is behind beyond your control. Just leave it to God. That's what we have to pray about, that, right? Okay. And let's move on to the weather forecast, and then I'll bring you the travel update as well. So on the weather front today, for those of you in the London and the southeast of England, this is how the weather is going to be for you. But share with us what is happening in your area. I'd love to know what is happening there. I know that we can Google it and get it, but it's nice to hear somebody saying that this is how the weather is at the moment, and it's lovely, right? Yep. Well, this afternoon will continue largely fine and dry with plenty of sunshine for a time. Winds will increase, however, it will cloud over from the southwest towards the end of the day. Now, this evening, a band of heavy rain will move in from the west along with gusty winds. The rain will continue overnight with heavy and persistent spells at times, winds slowly easing. The top temperature is going to be 16 degrees, the lowest is going to be 11 degrees. UV level is going to be low, pollution is going to be low. Sunset 16:32 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 06:55 hours. Okay, let's take a quick break and I'll bring you the travel update. So stay tuned. Don't you worry, I'll bring you the full length of that song uninterrupted in a moment. So stay tuned. Don't you go away.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, and keep you navigated. I promise I'm on the Starr Radio UK travel up there. Comes away every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:49. What's the travels like? On the underground this morning, apart from the Metropolitan line that's got severe delays, all the others have got good service. Now, there are severe delays due to a signal failure at Preston Road. So if you can avoid it, do your best to avoid it. If you are stuck in there, continue to listen to us. And as I say all the time, as and when we have any changes, I promise you one thing for sure, we will bring you to the fore. That aside, the London Overground, DLR and London Tramlink are all in good service. Now let's move on straight to the major roads in London. On the major roads in London, A24 has got closures, A4 closures, A41 closures, Central London Red Roads closures, and the South Circular A205 closures there as well. However, North Circular A406 has got serious delay, so if you can avoid that as well, do your best to do so. That aside, all the others, good service. I'm moving on straight to the River Bus. Apart from the Woolwich Ferry, that's still got a special service. All the others, good service. The London Overground, my apologies, the London Cable Car has got good service there as well. 10:50, and just moving on straight to the final segment of the travel updates, that is the National Rail. Now on the National Rail this morning, Avanti West Coast has got reduced timetable. It has brought about some disruption there. Cross country, reduced services on some routes and service disruption. London Northwestern Railway has also got minor delays on some routes as well. Now Northern Rail disruption between Carlisle and Settle Hexham. ScotRail has got a daily service change and that is also affecting travel, so please check before you embark on your journey. Thameslink has got minor delays. First Transparent Express has got amended timetable. That aside, all the others, that's Transport for Wales and West Midlands have got minor delays. Others have all got good service. So on that note, as I'll do, or else I'll say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today, but you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road. Ourselves with being the fastest, reliable and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable and trustworthy. Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dance all taking over. Everywhere
Everywhere you go, Afrobeat to reggae dance all taking over. Yo, what's up, people? This is a boy Raskin Bobo One. Tune in every day, every night on the Star Radio UK with the big man, them Archie. When I say order, you say fire.
Welcome back to the program, Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, let me say good morning to Suleiman Yusuf. He says, God bless Koiki. Of course, Koiki is doing a wonderful job there. I mean, trying to bring you everything that you need to know about what is happening in Nigeria and the Yoruba nation as well. So, yes. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and wherever you all are. And thank you very much for joining in as well. But it's now time for Global Trotting. Whilst we wait for Yomi to join in exactly at 11 o'clock, let me bring you some of the stories that he will be putting across as well. Well, when it comes to Nigeria, PDP crisis, Bode George reacts to move to sanction Wike, Autumn, and others. Why police won't arrest, prosecute Tinubu? The IGP saying, I'll be bringing you more details about that once we have that up. Ignore G5 complaints, lose 2023 presidential election, Autumn tells PDP. And then MPA launches first export processing terminal in Lagos. Now, airline count losses, relocate operations as union shuts down MMA2. And that's Murtala Muhammad Airport 2. And then airline, no plan to remove INEC chairman, stop BVAS. Additional is saying, and some other stories. The article most experience to prevent Nigeria's looming collapse, says PDP campaign council. The Federal High Court set up a special task force for pre-election cases. I think they are envisaging that it's going to be worse. If any delegates, autopsy likely as police free 6 workers, detain 2. And INEC kick as tribunal admits Oyatola's documentary evidence. Some other stories. Chief Sunday Adeyemi Igboho Osha has been honored with a doctorate degree in war, conflict, and peace study. We are so with hashtag UK Ilana join millions of the hashtag Yoruba people to rejoice with him. And I say congratulations to you, Chief, for that accolade. Okay. And dollar crisis, EFCC plans massive raid on forex dealers. Why I'm better than Atiku Obi on economy. My apologies, let me take it again. Why I'm better than Atiku Obi. That means Atiku and Obi on economy. Tinubu thinks that they can do better and set the economy on the right track for Nigerians. What do you think? Lots more going to be coming your way exactly in the next few minutes. Now let's move on quickly to other parts of the world to look at the stories making the rounds there. Well, the Nigeria's sea cargo port, the new one, is making headlines on most of the African platforms. Okay. And then Arab League summit, Algerian leader urges Arab unity, renews support for Palestine. Well. And then some other stories. Protesters in DRC set fire to UN vehicles in Goma. My goodness. Well, so if the UN is facing something of the sort, now which country can go and help to, salvage the peace that they have? And closure of Equatorial Guinea borders impacts Cameroonian traders. Why has it been shut? We'll be bringing you more on that front as well. Now, details of how a wealthy businessman attempted to influence anti-Overiata MPs. Well, he's trying to bribe them or what? Well, we'll be telling you more on that front once we come to Ghana as well. And it's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. Fully fledged trial for Aisha Wangs begin next week. Now, first witness to be called for cross-examination. However, information coming through was that whether the court or the prosecution is failing to provide interpreters for her other compatriots who were there, who are also arrested with her, and therefore, if they continue that way, they might have to release them. Well, a lot more going to be coming from there. It is Star Radio UK. Ekufuado did not categorically say he will sack Oferiata Edubuahin, majority leader is saying. Why is the president now thinking of sacking the chancellor? It's not the chancellor, the finance minister. Yes, we'll be bringing you more on that front. It's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. In other parts of the world as well, South hits back as North Korea fires most missiles in a day. Now, South Korea responded to the North launches with missiles of its own as hostilities escalate. Well, we'll see what happens from there. Screams and warnings in Itaewon emergency calls made to Korean police hours before a fatal crash reveal how the horrifying incident unfolded. We say it once again, may their souls rest in perfect peace. Netanyahu set for a dramatic comeback in Israel. The former Prime Minister is on course for victory in the general election. Partial results show. Well, he's like more than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back as a yes, as a Staralista, is it? He's come back so many times, but well, let's see what happens there. China locks down area around biggest iPhone plant. The move may have an impact on production of the new iPhone 14, which is made at Foxconn's factory. Lots more going to be coming from there. Now, Takeoff killed by stray bullet. Label claims the star, who was 28, died on Tuesday night after an altercation at a bowling alley in Houston. Another silly and unnecessary death has happened. A 5 lions escape exhibit at Australian Zoo. If you are around that place, my friend, better find a place to hide yourself. And then in Brazil, Bolsonaro ends silence without publicly conceding. He was telling one of his whether his right hand men that they are going to miss us, you know. He's behaving exactly like Donald Trump and his supporters. Well, I hope that they call them to order. I know that the courts, the Supreme Court ordered them to be cleared of the streets and all that blockade that was going on to be cleared. So we'll see what happens. Now, criminals and sexual predators allowed into police. My goodness, if you have money, well, we think that we can scrutinize things. We have something like that. Scandals will continue and public trust erode further unless recruitment is tighter, the watchdog says. Maybe they will have a U-turn. Those who are perpetrating such acts will know that, hey, if we don't do the right thing now, they are coming after us. What do you think? Now, Sunak is now going to COP27 climate summit. Now, Downing Street had argued the Prime Minister was too busy preparing for the budget. Now that he said it's going, is it that maybe they've penned down everything that needs to be said or nailed down everything that has to be said in that budget? Well, we'll be telling you more about that. Rising foreign bond in England and Wales census. The 2021 census counted 10 million people living in England and Wales who were born outside the UK. Why? Is it because they think that that place birthing there is better? Or were they expatriates? What happened? Okay, I haven't lost my marbles. Hancock on I Am a Celebrity program. The ex-health secretary says politicians should go where the people are after facing a backlash. Okay, Bishop Adesina says, good morning, Starr Radio UK. How will Nigeria DSS start prosecuting forex dealers with what offenses or what offense is in free trade, which is legal all around the world? Would that change the exchange price of the naira from 860 to $1 US? Well, that's a question Bishop Adesina is asking. So if you are in that industry, I want you to have a take or a say there. Do you think that it's the right thing that government wants to do, or the DSS is going to go after people who are, I mean, it's a business that they are doing. If they have to pay tax, they are paying their taxes. Why are they going after them? Are they the ones who are causing, I mean, Nigeria, that is supposed to be a crude producing country, crude oil producing country, that could use their refineries to refine lots of all the fuel that they are using in the country, yet they are using the scarce foreign exchange to import. They export the crude oil and then import the finished products into the. Now, what sense? So why don't they send them to those people who are not making the refineries work the way they're supposed to work? Why don't they go after them? Well, You want to have your take? Yes, I will allow you to do so. But now, let's have a quick music, and we'll be having Mr. Olayomi Koiki joining us. Stay tuned, and don't you go away. Onyamiye. I like it because there is you tell me, guys, those of you listening, when it gets to, is it a Yoruba or is it Igbo language that the person sings in? But enjoy it, and I'll be with you. Stay tuned. Starr Radio UK. The Wednesday edition of the morning show. Once we wait for Mr. Olayomi Koiki to join in, Edith Morrison. Mr. Badeshina says, when the CBN governor, who's supposed to strengthen the naira value with constructive policies, refuses, but we decide to spend money on changing color of the naira note. Now, what do you think? What do you think is going on in his head? And the other they are thinking about is going after the those who deal what do you call them? The forex dealers. Do you think that is the right move? Well. Interesting times. But we're looking more into all of that in a moment. I've got a white lion who has joined in, so we're going to be crossing over straight to him in our North London studios where he is located this morning to bring you updates from Nigeria. And let me say, Yomi, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Archie.
Yes, morning. Yes, how are you?
Very good. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Very good. I'm good. Very good morning to all our listeners and viewers. It is the Wednesday edition, and I know we're not, when it comes to Wednesday. I'm doing very well. and I hope yourself and Frank back in the studio are doing very great as well.
Yes, we are doing well. Thank you very, very much. Well, interestingly, now let's come straight to one of the stories that you did post on, and that pertains to Chief Sunday Igboho's award of a doctorate degree, an honorary doctorate degree. Can you give us a bit of a background to it? What organization or university gave him, accorded him that?
Yes, a very good morning once again. And yes, yesterday, quite a lot of activities happening back, in the Republic, where as we were getting the news feed from Professor Banja Akintoye, that was also at the present when this award. This is from Trino Biblical University in United States of America. That gave the doctorate degree in Peace and Security Management and International Relation. As you can imagine, Chief Sunday Igboho has gone through quite a lot, when it comes to his quest and the fight for the masses when it comes to the humanitarian. Prior to these, is well known within the community as far back as in the 80s, when there was another conflict known as the Modakeke. That was actually where his name actually rose as someone that stood his ground for the people during that conflict as at the time in the 80s.
Wow. May we say once again, congratulations to Chief Sunday Igboho for that that accolade that has been awarded him. We hope that his endeavors will not be in vain. Let me put it that way. We hope that his endeavors will not be in vain. But I know that we are pressed with time, so we have to just kick on straight on. Now let's come to the dollar crisis. I think whether the CBN is thinking that the best way to fight that is by going to raid forex dealers. Forex dealers. Can you talk briefly about that? Because there are some of our listeners who are in this part of the world or other parts of the world who don't know how they do. They think that it's just like here, you just walk into a forex bureau and you do your transaction. But we have people who sit in various places, and that is the trade. So they go to the market, and that is the trade that they are involved in. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, if I was meant to travel out of Nigeria this morning, for you to get $1 in the bank rate, you would then need to have, all your document, the passport, you would have a full ticket, return ticket if possible, and probably maybe a visa to the country that you're traveling to. That does not guarantee the dollar. And that doesn't mean that, by having all this, requirement, you will still be able to buy at least a minimum of $1,000 if you're traveling out. So you will end up going to what we know as the black market. Mm-hmm. The black market, is something that has been used, to siphon fund out of the country directly and indirectly by anyone, either the politicians or an average, Nigeria. And as we can say, it's not the first time that we've seen, the financial, the Economic Financial Crime Commission, doing this kind of raid. Why are we getting this raid is the question. This morning, Mr. Archie, yesterday, if I wanted to send money to Nigeria, it would have cost 912 naira to a pound. This morning, the exchange rate is gone up to 935. We are not even close to Christmas, and that means by the time we get to Christmas, we'll probably be exchanging naira to about 1,300 to £1. That is a big problem because it creates more problems to those at home, in terms of price wise. So this morning, the Economic and Financial Crimes carried out what we called simultaneous operation against the Bureau de Change operators in Abuja, Kano, as naira slumped to 857 to $1 at the parallel market. According to the raid in the two cities, which netted a good number of illegal BDC operators and individuals suspected to be customers who would also be extended to Lagos, Onitsha, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and other major cities. Let me give you a breakdown. If I was going to buy the dollar in the bank, you'll probably be buying it about 400 to 500. Some of the banks are also using that as a gimmick. So you probably pay what I call a kickback at the back. So if I was going to buy $5,000, I could get a ticket, that doesn't travel out from another company that will issue that ticket. If I'm buying $5,000 and at the rate of 400 to 500, and I'm selling it back at 857, multiply that. That is the money that can be made in under 1 hour.
Interesting. But what is the sense in the CBN? I mean, going on to say that look, we're going to be changing the naira, going to print, because to print the money, that currency, that means spending money to print it. It's not like you just take this one, just chuck this one out, and it's for free. No, they're going to spend money. Why are they not using that money to show up the naira instead?
Well, it doesn't work that way. We are not producing anything, so we rely on the diaspora, dollars coming in and the pound sterling. I mean, about $40 billion is what the diaspora are sending home, yearly, and that literally means that the government relies so much on that. I mean, it's a country that is not, productive, so we are relying more on goods coming into the country, and we will have less in terms of our own, forex deposited, across the world. The question you ask is why the Central Bank of Nigeria not pump the money into that. It doesn't work that way. The Central Bank says that the reason why they are doing what they are doing is to curb the illegal activities of the kidnappers, and also those money that people are giving out but is not returning back in circulation to the CBN vault.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. 14 minutes past the top of the hour. I'll call it 15 minutes past the top of the hour, and it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show with me, Mr. Olayomi, in our North London studios. I'm Archie here in the South studios. Now, let's move on to let me acknowledge Royal Aid. Yes, it says amen. I hope you are doing very well there. Okay, now let's move on to the other story that you have for us. Tinubu saying that he is better in saying to the economy than Atiku and Obi. What is it because he became a governor of the Lagos state and he thought at the time he managed to get things done and therefore there's the same template that he wants to use? Is that what he's saying?
Well, Tinubu believes that is more than better than Atiku, likewise Peter Obi. There was some kind of gathering yesterday. The presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, yesterday took a swipe at the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, Peter Obi, whom they said lacked the antecedent and experience to lead the country. The duo spoke, while they were presenting their action plan before business committee and community and the organized private sector in Lagos State. The president was the Lagos State governor. The business committee was fully represented by the president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, chairman of the Zenith Bank, chairman of the UBA, Tony Elumelu, the former chief executive of Access Bank, and so many of the big business leaders representing sectoral groups as agriculture, oil, and gas. Was Tinubu, able to convince them? Is the question that I'm sure a lot of these individuals will be looking into. But the town hall section was attended by also the APC vice presidential candidate, and other dignitaries across as well. Speaking at the meeting, the former governor of Lagos State says if elected in president in 2023, his administration will hit a double-figure gross domestic product. How he's going to do that, we don't know, because what we can say is while he was the Lagos State governor, when we look at the what he left behind for 8 years, that is exactly what is being faced in terms of the consequence. Yes, there was a lot of people who argue the fact that Tinubu was not able to have money coming during that time from the Obasanjo that was holding Lagos State revenue. But when you look at Lagos in general, in terms of the revenue that was coming into, the question today is 8 years spent from 1999 and in 2022, Lagos State still remain lack of those vital infrastructure to pull the citizens out of the poverty and the welfare. And the question then is, Would this meeting he held yesterday make any changes? Time will tell. There's so much on the table when it comes to 2023, and we might give our timeline on that before we end this program again at 17 minutes past 11. I'll come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Yes, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time, as Yomi said, 17 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's move on to some other stories that I did touch on earlier on. Yes, pertaining to... Okay, just bear with me. Pertaining to the first export processing terminal in Lagos that was launched yesterday, that was opened yesterday. It's on all the other African platforms where news are seen to. And some of the questions, some of the issues that people are looking at is a good venture for Nigeria. But looking at what is happening, is it a gege where you have the other port? Apapa, where that port is, and so you're looking at the gridlock, the traffic gridlock and stuff like that. How looking at the area where this has been set, how do you see them maybe not having such a problem, and therefore we can just see maybe trucks moving in and out, goods moving in and out, and actually easing that gridlock that we're seeing in Apapa?
Well, the Nigerian Port Authority Export Processing Terminal, according to what they are saying, will boost Nigeria to about $2.5 billion non-oil export. And the question you've asked, according to the Managing Director of the Port Authority, Mohammed Bello Koko, yesterday in Lagos, stated that the export processing terminal at Leaf Pond in Ijora will further enhance Nigeria's non-oil export, currently in the region of $2.5 billion. In the bid to ensure prompt and seamless processing of export cargoes, which is the question you've asked, and accessing Apapa and Tinkan Island Port in Lagos, the NPA yesterday inaugurated Nigerian first export processing terminal at Lily Pond in Ijora in Lagos. The whole area is completely in a mess. When you look at the infrastructure again that has not been able to hold. And those in the southeast are saying, why not open the other port so that we can have those goods coming through them rather than Lagos, and then you've allowed Lagos to become just the only place where goods have to come through. Well, we will have so many other ports that that should have been upgraded. Bello Koko said the export terminal will help Nigeria optimize the benefit inherent in the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, saying greater efficiency will be infused into logistics surrounding the entry of the export box into the port for onward loading on the vessel. It's easy said and done. I believe we couldn't get that right this morning when you go to Apapa, where the whole area is completely on gridlock.
Well, we hope that something happens on that front. But Bishop Adeshina,
once again, this is Starr Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I come back again to you now in the studio.
Okay, thanks. Yes, listeners, Starr Radio UK.
We lost.
Okay. Let's go through the drill. There. Whilst Mr. Olayomi is doing that, Bishop Adeshina says it is a senseless and selfish government over Nigeria. Okay, just bear with me, and has become adamant over the years. A CBN governor said he spent 281 billion naira to print new notes proposed, which is not necessary. Now, it goes on further to say the CBN governor said he is it's the same thing to destroy. He spent 3.88 billion naira to destroy old notes. A note which has not been collected from circulation, old note that still spent, not yet collected in circulation. It goes on to say, please, who will help Nigeria from these notorious politicians ruling Nigeria? They are no longer ashamed of their lie. AMD folly. Now, as it also says, good morning, brother Koiki and the rest of the team. Now, good morning to you. It is Starr Radio UK. Let's go to Yomi, who is back with the rest of the stories making the rounds this morning. Over to you, Yomi.
Well, as more condolence coming for the family of Davido and Chioma, there is 6 of the workers have now been released. Only 2 have been detained. Nigerian singer Davido late son Ifeanyi may undergo autopsy, as police release 6 workers and only 2 have now been detained. As we continue to pray not just for Davido but for the rest of the country that are going through one difficulties or the other. Nigerian police begin forensic examination of 10 unidentified corpses found on Edo Highway. Again, a very sad one coming from Nigeria there. Buhari shedding crocodile tears for Imbezulik Amechi after failing to honor promise on Nnamdi Kanu, according to the Onhaize, this morning. Despite taking several loans, Buhari government owes contractors 11 trillion naira for road construction. It's just on the Star Radio UK this morning. 100 days and 100 days, 12 hours, 36 minutes, and the seconds keeps going down. Should election hold in Nigeria, or the country will go into dissolution as more of the self-determination are, pulling their ground, for the right to self-determination. I was actually going through, news around self-determination this morning, and there was quite a lot of different headlines that I was able to pick up, from different countries, trying their own to get out of the, the connection that they have with countries that have been there. Pakistan, with India, they have a particular group in there, and I'm going to bring that up in just about a few minutes. It's exactly 11:23 a.m. This morning on Star Radio UK. As we continue, as we speak right now, there's an ongoing, the Yoruba Nation Pastor League that is going on in Akure in Ondo State, where again, activities, and I can on the screen to my left hand side, they are also having connection back to London, where there is a Zoom connection as well. So a lot of activities going on. Tomorrow there will be an ongoing peaceful rally as well in Ado Oton, where again activities is going to be taking place as well, and a fully packed church where the event is currently being held. So now let me just take through quickly, some of the other headlines, and then we go back straight to the social media this morning to what is actually trending. And like I said, this morning, quite a lot, continue to happen as the president left. Edward Kang, the elder statesman, believes that president did not officially hand over, to his vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, according to the constitution. So the question then is, why has the president left in a hurry, not doing the necessary process by handing over, to the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. If you're joining us for the first time, remember, if you're sending money home to your loved ones, remember to use SendWaves, where you get, £5 if you're using it for the very first time, and that is, the code will be S for Starry and R for Radio. Again, you can't govern from UK. Clap tackles, Buhari. How will I fight insecurity, and how I will fight insecurity and boost, economy? That's some of the headline from some of the papers as well. Parent cried out as bandit about adopt 39 children from Castina Farm. You can tell that there is still more fire on the mountain when it comes to some of these, very, very depressing news, from Nigeria. Imagine 39 children, are going through a very, very difficult time, as we say. So quite a lot of different headline there. And then let me take us, like I said, I promised to talk about few countries, that are also, fighting for self-determination, as the Yoruba, the Biafra, and some of the Hausas and the Middle Belt are also fighting as well. And European Forum calls for acceleration of referendum on self-determination in Western Sahara. Black self-determination is Mississippi configured for Black American self-determination. Self-determination, live experience, culture, healing, and community connection must be at the heart of how criminal justice solutions are created for indigenous Australians, according to new report. Timorese, historically a national leader of the struggle for self-determination and independence, received Sahrawi ambassador. Timorese was also one country that was fighting for their self-determination, from 1975 after declaring independence from Indonesia, and that took to a lot of crises until 2002, when they finally got their independence on the 21st of May 2002. So these are some of the other headlines, from the self-determination self-determination. And the question again this morning, 1.4 billion for the FCC arrest Kogi Assembly candidate with 326 million naira cash and $610,000 cash. These are huge amount of money. The question then is, those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. That is the quotation from Ben Franklin. Again, those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Ben Franklin. Once again, this is Star Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And I will slightly come back now to you in the studio. When we come back, we go straight to the social media so that we can end. But later on in the evening, we will be discussing who do we blame, when it comes to taking care of your loved ones while you are out. Not everybody is a celebrity, but most of us take our children to the daycare here in the UK, and we also have some kind of activities where someone is looking after our children. Who is responsible, and what is our own responsibility for the safety of those houses that we have? And I know when we give back to children in UK, and at some point if you have a staircase, you have that small gate so that the children do not just crawl out of your bed while you are sleeping, tumble out or down the stairs. So the question then is, who are we going to put the blame on? Those that are taking care of the children, or the parent that should put extra safety around their houses? That will be part of the discussion as we continue the self-determination movement later on at 6 p.m. on Niger Voices. But for now, I'll come back to you, Mr. Archie.
Yes, listeners, Star Radio UK, Miss Olayomi in our North London studios. I'm Archie here. Now, let me just quickly read some of the comments that Bishop Adeshina has put across. He said 3.88 billion to destroy old notes in anticipation. Would a destructive element gotten from heaven? Who is collecting the money? That's the question that he's asking there. And he goes on further to say, he says, shame to Nigerian leaders. Okay, Sherifat Agbabiaka says Ekueto. Sherifat, the rest I'll leave Yomi to read that out. okay. Listen to Star Radio UK. But Yomi, one of the stories that he touched on, the abduction of children, 39 children on a casino farm. Now the question that the moment you read that story, what came into my mind is, why were the children not at school?
Okay, we have about 20 million Nigerians that are currently out of school. So that means more children are roaming around different places across, from the southeast to the northeast to the southwest to the middle belt, without any kind of education. And it is not the fault of the children, it's the fault of the system that has failed. The terrorists that adopted 39 children from a casino farm. The question is, what should the children be doing on the farm when they should be out there in the school? Parent of 39 children who were adopted by terrorists while working on a farm in Fasakari local government area of Katsina have plead with the government to come to their aid. The terrorists on Sunday, according to the source, in their large numbers, invaded the farm where the children were working. According to the source, Miria community was the worst hit in the attack by the terrorists. He explained that the terrorists started shooting sporadically when the terrorists surrounded the farm. The source said that 1 million was paid to the terrorists as levy before mobilizing the children, but the representative of the farm explaining that most of the adults working on the farm with the children were able to escape.
A sad one there. I mean, I don't know how the audio is gone again. Okay, listeners, just bear with us. We'll sort it out quickly so that Yomi can bring you the what is going on social media. But let me read. Sharifat says, good morning, brother Koiki and the rest of the team. So that's what he was trying to put across. Yes, Sharifat, thank you very, very much for your patronage as well. But listeners, it is Star Radio UK. We'll be going to Yomi for what is happening on the social media platform. Over to you, Yomi.
Thank you so much. We're going to go straight to the social media at 11:31 a.m. on Star Radio UK. As more congratulations messages, for Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. There's also more messages, for the family of Davido, as that is still trending now at 230,000, tweets so far. Canada to admit 465,000 Nigerians ordered as permanent resident in 2023 amid labor shortage. Again, more Nigerians will be heading towards that area for that. Simon Ekpa countdown to Biafra at 123 days from today, according to the headline there as well. Let's now look at more other as well. I wish I knew Ifa before now. I would have avoided many pitfalls in my life. I am grateful to the Most High Olodumare for the gift of Ifa. This is coming from Akanji, the restorer at Saint Akanji. We're gonna take one more and then leave that for now till later on in the evening. According to Ifa Funsho, most kind people I know are self-educated and do not chase compliment of or validation. And think Yoruba first. Between the 12th and the 14th centuries, Ile-Ife was the center of the Yoruba world. It was the emporium and the holy city. Its economy was based on the novel technology of glass manufacture, mainly devoted to making beads, the primary currency of the power, authority, and the wealth in the region. Star Radio UK, this is how far we can go this morning. But later on at about 6 p.m., later on Niger Voices, we'll be having more conversation, and we might open the phone line for our listeners to discuss who is responsible for the safety of your children. Is it those that you employ, or you also have the responsibility as well? Star Radio UK, later on Niger Voices.
All right, Yomi, let me say thank you very much for that wonderful update, and then we'll see you later in the evening.
Thank you so much. I'm back for now.
Right, and bye-bye. Well, listeners, that was Mr. Olayomi Koiki bringing you updates from Nigeria. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. We're going to take a musical break, and once we come back, we continue with the program. So wherever you are, don't you go away at all. Keep your dials still locked on Star Radio UK. This is a cover version of Bob Marley's song So Much Trouble by Avis Ramley. Enjoy it, and I'll be with you. Stay tuned.
Bless my eyes this morning. The sun is on the rise once again. The earth in this going. Anything can happen. You see men sailing on the ego tree.
This is Star Radio UK.
Of manners patient, million miles from reality. No care for you, no care for me.
This is Star Radio UK.
You are listening to Star Radio North. Enlighten your day with Star Radio.
So much trouble in the world. All you got to give a little, just 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 give a little. One more time and yeah, 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 yeah. So you find you think the solution.
This is Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK.
So before you check out this time,
broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Cornerstone standing there behind. got to face today. Ooh-wee, come with me. Hear the street people talking, people struggling. Now them sitting on the time bomb. And the grooving up is coming on down. Looks around.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Hey, so much trouble in the world.
Well, So Much Trouble in the World by Avis Ramley, a cover version of Bob Marley's song, and I hope that you enjoy that too. Starr Radio UK, 11:39 the time, and that means that we've got only about 21 minutes to move on to what is making the rounds in other parts of the world. So let's crack on. Don't you worry, tomorrow, God willing, if we are alive, when Nigeria has not happened to us, I will bring you some lovely tunes from that front. Alright then, so let's crack on. Now, when it comes to other stories making the round this morning, as I did say, now Arab League Summit, Algerian leaders urge Arab unity and renew support for Palestine. Now, Arab leaders met in Algeria on Tuesday, that's November 1st, as the 31st summit of the largest annual Arab conference kicked off. Algeria's president called. Okay, we'll be trying to bring you more on that story. Let me see whether I can just touch on a few of them. It was the first meeting in 3 years of the 22 member states. It's if new challenges have emerged since, Algerian president insisted on the historic support of the Palestinians in their never resolved conflict with Israel. I look forward to the establishment of an Arab contact and a coordination group during this summit in order to support the Palestinian cause, and Algeria is fully prepared to transfer its vital request to the United Nations, Tebboune said. He said his stand to grant Palestinians full UN membership comes at a time when a growing number of Arab countries have established bilateral ties with Israel. Indeed, the recent trend has been cooperation between Israel and a growing number of Arab countries, including Morocco or the United Arab Emirates. Sudan has also agreed to establish ties with the Middle East country. The meeting comes against the backdrop of rising inflation, food, energy shortages, drought, and soaring costs of living across the Middle East and Africa. Well, there are some stories making the rounds for you on the African continent today. The scientists have warned of a new invasive mosquito species in Africa. Oh, Africa, oh, Africa. And it says that scientists say an invasive mosquito species was likely responsible for a large malaria outbreak in Ethiopia earlier this year, a finding that experts call a worrying sign that progress against the disease is at risk of unraveling. Now, the mosquito species known as Anopheles stephensi has mostly been seen in India and the Persian Gulf in 2012. It was discovered in Djibouti and it has since been found in Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Nigeria. The mosquitoes are suspected to be behind a recent rise in malaria in Djibouti, prompting the World Health Organization to try to stop the insects from spreading further in Africa. On Tuesday, malaria scientist Fisom Tades presented research at a meeting of the American Society for Tropical Medicine in Seattle, now suggesting that the invasive mosquitoes were also responsible for an outbreak in Ethiopia. Well, there are some of the stories happening. Now we have to come back to now think of how to deal with that. Now, those of you who like climbing mountains, Kilimanjaro is on fire and Tanzania has deployed army to fight that. I don't know how they're going to do that. Are they going to get helicopters to be flying or planes to be flying water or listen to quench the fires there? And then they will be doing others. Well, we'll be looking more into those stories as the the week unfolds. Now, a fully fledged trial for Aisha Wang begin next week. First witness to be called for cross-examination. But when Aisha Wang daring to expose some top hooks who have been alleged to be involved in her criminality and stuff, we should go ahead to do so. We'll be telling you more about that in during the course of the week as well. But when it comes to Akufo-Addo, categorically did not say that he is sacking Ofori-Atta and Edubuahin. What has brought about that statement? Let's move on. The majority leader of Chairman Sabonsu says President Akufo-Addo did not categorically say he will dismiss Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and Minister of State at the Finance Ministry Charles Edubuahin after the IMF negotiations and 2023 budget reading and appropriation. The president did not say that. To quote his words, he said, "Let's finish with this. The IMF and the budget thereafter, we should hold on until after this," he said on a news on one of the news networks. But the question is, some 18 new Patriotic Party MPs had demanded the immediate dismissal of the finance minister, and that's the statement that the president gave. So is it just buying a bit of time, hoping that once we have the the finance minister sorting few things out, it will make things tick along nicely and the economy might come back to its original position, or things might turn around better than it's been? Is that what they're trying to talk about there? Well, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, when it comes to the city depreciation in Ghana as well, we didn't talk about the Naira depreciation, but it's on the city depreciation. The Bank of Ghana, illegal money to government chasing the dollar, Adongo is saying. The Member of Parliament for Bogatanga Central, Isaac Adongo, has attributed the city's continual depreciation against the dollar to what he describes as illegal injections of Ghana cities into the economy by the Bank of Ghana. So, is the governor or the Bank of Ghana, printing more money? Which automatically brings about a devaluation and then inflation? Well, Mr. Dongo says the problem is as a result of the Bank of Ghana's defiance and disregard for the laws with respect to budget funding by the central bank. The key strand of Ghana's inflationary targeting framework is what advocates group to we call fiscal dominance over monetary policy. What this means is that Bank of Ghana should be restrained from giving money to the government to finance the budget. That is why its law stipulates that they cannot give more than 5% of government previous year's revenue at any point in time in cumulative lending, he explained. Now, last year, 2021, they ended the year with 35 billion Ghana cedis, and as we speak today, they are heading toward the same 35 billion, which will bring it to 70 billion. When you do that, there are two things that happens. One is that monies that you have pumped into the economy, the cedi in the economy, is what is chasing the dollar now. So more cedis chasing the few dollars. That is what he means to say there. But don't you worry, tomorrow, God willing, we'll have time to dig deeper into those stories as well. 14 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's move on to other parts of the world and look at some of the stories making the round. But remember, I'll be taking you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. Take off. Okay. Migos rapper Takeoff has been killed by stray bullet, the record label has claimed. Now, Migos rapper Takeoff was killed by a stray bullet, his record company has claimed in a statement. The 28-year-old Grammy-nominated musician died on Tuesday in a shooting at a bowling alley in Houston, Texas. Now, paying tribute, his record label said in a statement, senseless violence and a stray bullet has taken another life from this world and we are devastated. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner, said he did not want to speculate on whether Takeoff was the target. He added, based on what people say about him, he's well respected, not non-violent. I would not expect him to be involved, but I don't want to wait on the I don't want to wait on the investigation, but we have no reason to believe that he was involved in anything criminal at the time, just as people describe him as a very peaceful, loving, and great entertainer. And we say once again there, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Star Radio UK. Still bringing you some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. Well, it didn't happen yesterday that Bolsonaro addressed the press or gave a statement. And after that, you could see from his face, his frail face, that he had been disappointed. Now, Brazil's far-right President Jair Bolsonaro has broken the silence he had maintained since being defeated on Sunday's presidential election. He thanked voters who had cast their ballots for him, but did not acknowledge defeat. But he did not contest the result either, as some had feared he would. His chief of staff, Cyril Nguera, spoke after Mr. Bolsonaro's brief statement, saying that the process of transition of power would begin. Even though Mr. Bolsonaro did not himself acknowledge defeat in his own words, Brazil Supreme Court released a statement shortly after his speech, saying that by authorizing the transition of power, he had recognized the results of the election. Now, combative statement from the president in the past, such as the only God could remove him from office, meant that there had been a tense wait for him to appear in public. Now, before the election, he had also repeatedly cast unfounded doubts on the voting system. Now, when he finally appeared in public 44 hours after the election results was announced, Mr. Bolsonaro's statement lasted only 2 minutes, and he did not take any questions from the assembled reporters. I remember he turning himself to one of his aides and saying that, you know what, these people are going to miss us greatly. Is it Donald Trump? Is it the same template being used there? And you want to know more? Continue to stay tuned. We'll be bringing you more on that front. Now, when it comes to China, well, China, that's pertaining to COVID. Now, area around world's biggest iPhone plant have been locked down. Well, they're doing something to sabotage it. Well, somebody said that the more they produce an iPhone for them, China being the factory, they'll be making more money into their economy. So, what is the sense in cutting your nose to spite your face? Now, the Chinese authorities have locked down a district in Jiangsu City, which is home to the world's largest iPhone factory, under the country's strict coronavirus measures. The lockdown started on Wednesday and is set to last for 7 days. The move may have an impact on production of the new iPhone 14, which is made at Foxconn's plant in the city. Now, Chinese people and businesses are continuing to grapple with President Xi Jinping's rigid zero COVID policy. Now, on Wednesday, local authorities said the lockdown of the Xinzhou airport economic zone will start immediately and end midday local time on the 9th of November. Now, when the COVID started, we blamed them that they didn't do anything. They just allowed people to, and then our own countries did not shut their borders to people who were coming from that particular part of the world, and they allowed them in, and that brought about the influx of the infection, that rate that went spiraling. Now, this is a case where he's now saying that, well, the moment they think that, well, this place reports there is COVID and say we are locking it down, and people are upset about that. Well, is it just trying to show or flex his muscles at these people? Well, it is All Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, which countries hold elections more than Italy? You got it? It's Israel. All right then. Well, now, former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is on the brink of a dramatic comeback after partial results showed he was on course to win a majority in parliament with the far right's help. With 84% of votes from the general elections counted, Mr. Netanyahu's bloc is set to win 65 out of the 120 seats. We are close to a big victory, he told Jubilant supporters in Jerusalem. Now, however, he will be dependent on the support of the ultra-nationalist religious Zionism party. Now, its leader, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich have gained notoriety for using anti-Arab rhetoric and advocating the deportation of disloyal Arab politicians or civilians. Now, Mr. Ben-Gvir was a follower of the late explicit racist ultra-nationalist Meir Kahane, whose organization was banned in Israel and designated as a terrorist group by the United States. Now, Mr. Ben-Gvir himself has been convicted of incitement to racism and supporting a terrorist organization. But somebody will listen to that and say, well, if they are doing that, if somebody does that, is it wrong? Well, that's a big question that you have to answer for yourself. It is all Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One final story from the world front, and then I bring you one story from here, and I'll take you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. And this time round in the Korean Peninsula, what is happening there? Now, North and the South Korea have fired a number of missiles into waters near each other's coast in a marked escalation of hostilities. The North launched its most missiles in a single day, at least 23, including one that landed less than 60 kilometers off the south cities of Soko. Now, Seoul responded with warplanes firing 3 air-to-ground missiles over the disputed maritime demarcation line. Now, later Pyongyang fired 6 more missiles and a barrage of 100 artillery shells. The North says the launches are in response to large-scale military exercise current being held by South Korea and the United States, which is called aggressive and provocative. Now, on Tuesday, Pyongyang warned they will pay the most horrible price in history if they continue their joint military drills, seen as a veiled threat to use nuclear weapons. The North has tested a record number of missiles this year as tensions have risen. Now, do we want any more war with what is happening with only Ukraine and everything going pear-shaped? Well. It is all coming away from Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Rishi Sunak is to face Keir Starmer for the second Prime Minister's question time since taking over the job. Yes, in the next 5 minutes. So, but information coming through says that Rishi Sunak is now going to COP27 Climate Summit. It says the Prime Minister has reversed an earlier decision not to go to COP27 Climate Summit in Egypt. Number 10 said Rishi Sunak was too busy preparing for the 17th November budget to attend the event, which opens on Sunday. But it had been widely criticized by climate campaigners, opposition parties, and climate advisor Alok Sharma. Mr. Sunak tweeted that there would be no long-term prosperity without action on climate change or energy security without investing in renewables. That is why I will attend COP27 next week to deliver on Glasgow's legacy of building a secure and sustainable future. On Tuesday, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he would attend COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh. The UK's hosted last year's COP conference of the parties in Glasgow, and it was chaired by Mr. Sharma. Now, Green MP Caroline Lucas welcomed what she called a screeching U-turn after an embarrassing misstep on the world stage. Let this be a lesson to him. Climate leadership matters, she added. Well, somebody asked the question, would I put food on my table now that we are actually struggling? And will we last tomorrow to see climate change or whatever the climate is going to do? Somebody say, well, our children's children will suffer if nothing is done about that. But what do you think about that? Well. Criminals and sexual predators allowed into police says report. The story says that, well, hundreds of police officers who should have failed vetting checks may be in the job in England and Wales, a damning report has found. The police watchdog looked at 8 forces and found decisions on officers which were questionable at best. Now, one officer convicted of domestic abuse and one accused of sexual assault were among those accepted. My goodness, it's far too easy for the wrong people to get in, said Inspector of Constabulary Matt Parr. Of 725 sample cases closely examined in the review, there were concerns about 131 officers cleared to serve in police forces, but the watchdog said the true total could be much higher, and that is quite a serious one. Now, the ones that we are trusting, that they are the ones who are custodians of the law and will see to it that they uphold the law and protect us. If they are found wanting, then what do we do? Well, now, number of foreign-born people in England and Wales has reached 10 million. The number of people in England and Wales who were born outside the UK has increased by 2.5 million since 2011. The latest census date shows the 2011 survey counted 10 million foreign-born people among a population of 59.9 million in England and Wales. Of these, India was the most common birthplace with 920,000 people, 1.5% of usual residents born there. The number of Romanian-born people in England and Wales rose to 576%. Wow. Between 2011 and 2021, that's 10 years on. Now, between 2011 and 2021, more than half of the increase in the population was caused by net migration, the census figure shows. The natural population increase of 1.5 million people, calculated by the subtracting the number of deaths from births, represented 42.5% of the total increase. It was outstripped by positive net migration, the difference between those who immigrated into and emigrated out of England and Wales of 2 million people, or 57.5% of total population increase. In contrast, both Wales are 6.9% and the northeast of England 6.8% had approximately 1 in 14 usual residents born outside the UK. The Office of National Statistics has also calculated the average size of a household in England and Wales, which remains about the same in 2011, although the number of them has increased in line with the population. The average household size in England and Wales in 2011 was 2.4. In 2021 was 2.4 people, as it has been in 2011. But 6 in 10 are single family households, and 3 in 10 only have one person. Well, that is where I bring the stories and everything that we are looking at to a close for today. I bring the first part of the program to a close for today. But this evening, as Olayomi said, we'll be bringing you Niger voices. So make sure your dials are still logged on Starr Radio UK to listen to that. On that note, let me say God richly bless you and thank you very much for joining in. We'll see you all tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye for now. Let's take a quick commercial break and I take you to the House of Parliament.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you.
Secretary made an error judgment, but she recognised her mistake and took accountability for her actions. But she has now set out transparently, in detail, a full sequence of events in a letter to the Labour chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, offered to share documents with the chair, and she is getting on with the job. Cracking down on crime, defending our borders, something I know the party opposite has no interest in supporting.
My 19-year-old Congleton constituent, Mary, who has been in care much of her life, has worked long and hard by childminding and in other ways to save £3,600 to help support herself at university. Mary now faces her university studies with no savings and no means of recovering them because it has all been stolen from her in a few seconds by a heartless scammer pretending to be her bank. What assurance can the Prime Minister give that the government is working hard to help prevent this type of all too common, despicable crime and bring the perpetrators to book?
Well, I'm very sorry to hear about Marie's case that my honourable friend raises, and I know how convincing scammers can be and the upset and hurt that they cause. I'm pleased to reassure my honourable friend that the government will shortly be publishing our fraud strategy, which will establish a more unified, coordinated response from government and law enforcement and the private sector to block more scams and to better protect the public.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. His Home Secretary says the asylum system is broken. Who broke it?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's just we can look at the record on migration policy. Let's look at it. What did we on this side of the House do? We gave the British people a referendum on Brexit. We delivered Brexit. We ended the free movement of people, Mr. Speaker. That's our record on migration policy. It's not something the honourable gentleman supported. He opposed it at every turn, and it's not what the British people want.
No one wants open borders on this side of the House. They've lost control of the borders on their side of the House. Mr. Speaker, four Prime Ministers in 5 years, and it's the same old. He stands there and tries to pass the blame. If the asylum system is broken, and his lot have been in power for 12 years, how can it be anyone's fault but theirs?
Mr. Speaker, people rightly want to see us getting a grip of migration in our borders. But look, let's look at the record. The right honourable gentleman, he voted against the Nationality and Borders Bill. He said he would scrap the Rwanda partnership. He opposed the ending of free movement of people. Look, border control is a serious, complex issue. But not only does the party opposite not have a plan, they have opposed every single measure we have taken to solve the problem. You can't attack a plan if you don't have a plan.
We voted against it because we said it wouldn't work, and it hasn't worked. He says he's getting a grip, he's got a plan. So let's have a look at that plan. The Rwanda deal was launched in April. It cost the taxpayer £140 million and rising. The number of people deported to Rwanda is 0. Since then, 30,000 people have crossed the channel in small boats. It's not working, is it? He hasn't got a grip.
Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House are clear that we want to defend our borders. When the Shadow Home Secretary this weekend was asked, she couldn't answer a simple question if the party opposite was in favour of higher or lower migration. It's that simple. The Home Secretary and I, when it comes to tackling on migration, reducing migration, we are on the same page. That party's policy, it's a blank page, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, blame others, deflect, attack on something else. So much the new age of accountability. Of all the people who arrived in small boats last year, how many asylum claims have been processed?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we do need. Mr. Speaker, not enough is the answer, very straightforwardly. Not enough. And that's what we're going to fix. But the honourable gentleman raises this question. What are we doing? We've increased the number of processing officials by 80%. We are putting an extra 500 more by next March. But if he really was serious about fixing this problem, then he would acknowledge that we do need to tackle the issue of people putting spurious claims, spurious, repeated, last-minute claims to frustrate the process. That's how we'll tackle the system. So why then did he vote against the Nationality and Borders Act, which deals with it?
Mr. Speaker, he says not enough. You could say that again. It's 4%. 4% of people arriving in small boats last year had their asylum claim processed. According to the bookies, the Home Secretary has a better chance of becoming the next Tory leader than she has of processing an asylum claim in a year. And he talks about numbers. They're only taking half the number of asylum decisions that they used to. That's why the system is broken. 4,000 people at the Manston Air Force Base, massively overcrowded, all sorts of diseases breaking out. So, did the Home Secretary receive legal advice that she should move people out? Yes or no?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman is very fond of reminding us that he used to be the former Director of Public Prosecutions. So he knows the government's policy on commenting on legal advice. But what I can say is the significant action that the Home Secretary has taken to fix the issue. Since September, 30 more hotels with 4,500 new beds, appointing a senior general to control the situation at Manston, and indeed increasing the number of staff there by almost a half, Mr. Speaker. These are significant steps to demonstrate that we are getting a grip of this system. But this is a serious and escalating problem. We will make sure that we control our borders, and we will always do it fairly and compassionately because that's the right thing.
Here's Starr. Mr. Speaker, he talks about my time as Director of Public Prosecutions. I prosecuted people smugglers. He can't even get an asylum claim processed. I think the answer to the question whether the Home Secretary received legal advice to move people out of Manston is yes. He just hasn't got the guts to say it. He did a grubby deal with her, putting her in charge of Britain's security just so he could dodge an election. She's broken the ministerial code, lost control of a refugee centre and put our security at risk. She did get one thing right. She finally admitted that the Tories have broken the asylum system. Criminal gangs running amok, thousands crossing the channel in small boats every week, hardly any claims processed. So why doesn't he get a proper Home Secretary, scrap the Rwanda gimmick, crack down on smuggling gangs, end the small boat crossings, speed up asylum claims and agree an international deal on refugees? Start governing for once and get a grip.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman.
Front rows. Can we just calm it down a little? I do want to hear the replies. You're covering your mouth's not helpful to me or you. Come on, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman rightly raised the topic of national security because it is important. But this is the person who in 2019 told the BBC, and I quote, "I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister." Mr. Speaker, let's remember that national security agenda, abolishing our armed forces, scrapping the nuclear deterrent, withdrawing from NATO, voting against every single anti-terror law we tried, befriending Hamas and Hezbollah. He may want to forget about it, but we will remind him of it every week because it's the Conservative government that will keep this country safe.
To my register of interest. Mr. Speaker, right now we are suffering the worst outbreak of avian flu ever recorded. Hundreds of thousands of birds are being destroyed to stem the spread of this terrible disease. The government's acted quickly to bring forward compensation for live birds culled to 48 hours after confirmation of disease. But even this short delay is causing significant losses to farmers in Broadland as the disease wreaks havoc to flocks. Dead birds are not compensated. Today is Back British Farming Day. Will my right honourable friend take this opportunity to back British farmers and agree compensation for all affected birds from the date when disease is confirmed?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as someone who represents a very rural and farming community, it is a great pleasure to back British Farming Day and join with colleagues on all sides of the House in doing so. But my honourable friend is right to highlight that outbreaks of avian flu this year are on track to be some of the worst on record. That's why we've toughened up biosecurity measures on poultry farms, and I can say to him that we have confirmed we will now pay compensation from the outset of planned culling rather than at the end, a request that I know he and the farming sector will warmly welcome.
Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In May of this year, the new Prime Minister told this chamber, and I quote, "I can reassure the House that next year's benefits will be uprated by this September CPI and the triple lock will apply for the state pension." But last week, the Prime Minister repeatedly refused to say if he would keep to a promise that he made only 5 months ago. Prime Minister, people don't need to hear any more spin about compassionate conservatism. People just need a straight answer to a simple question. Will he keep his promise and lift benefits and pensions in line with inflation?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we do now have an excellent new Chancellor, and I'm looking forward to his autumn statement in a couple of weeks. It wouldn't be right to comment on individual policy measures before then, but I think everyone knows we do face a challenging economic outlook and difficult decisions will need to be made. But what I would say is that we will always, as my track record as Chancellor demonstrates, have fairness and compassion at the heart of everything we do.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it was a very simple question asking for the Prime Minister to reiterate what he promised just 5 months ago. For the second week running, he still won't give a straight answer to the most vulnerable that require support. The Prime Minister keeps telling us that difficult decisions need to be made, but austerity 2.0 isn't a difficult decision. It is what it has always been, a Tory political choice to hit the poorest hardest. In the week that BP saw quarterly profits of £7.1 billion, why not take the easy decision to bring in a proper windfall tax? Why not take the easy decision to reinstate the cap on bankers' bonuses? Why not take the easy decision to scrap the non-dom tax avoidance? And with all that new revenue, why not stand up today and take the easiest decision of all, to protect those most in need and increase benefits and pensions in line with inflation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman raised the issue of North Sea, and this is a point of significant difference between his party and ours. As Chancellor, I introduced the new levy on oil and gas companies because I believe that was the right thing to do. But where we will always differ is we believe that our North Sea producers do have an important role to play in our transition to net zero. They are an important source of transition fuels, and we will make sure that we support them to invest in exploiting those resources for the British people.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I firstly welcome the IPU delegation from Madagascar who are in today's viewing gallery. More locally, I'm delighted that next year Openreach will be rolling out ultra-fast broadband in Wigginton in my constituency. But other rural areas of South West Hertfordshire, like Dudswell, are still in dire need of better connectivity. Can the Prime Minister update the House on the progress of the £5 billion Project Gigabit?
Prime Minister. My honourable friend is absolutely right to recognise the role of broadband in providing levelling up opportunities across our economy. That's why we invested £5 billion in Project Gigabit, and now we have 71% of UK premises having access to this from just 5% when we came into office. I'm very pleased to tell my honourable friend that we will be launching a procurement to provide gigabit coverage for his area in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister will know that it's Scotland's energy resources that feed corporate profits and keep His Majesty's Treasury pumped full of cash to the tune of £8 billion in the last 9 months alone. In return, candidates in the summer Tory leadership contest tried to outdo each other in their contempt and hostility to Scotland's democracy. So without falling back on the "you've had your vote" trope, can the Prime Minister tell me, is Scotland in a voluntary and respectful union of equals as claimed in 2014, or are we hostages in a territorial British colony?
Minister. Mr. Speaker, what people across Scotland rightly want to see is both their governments working constructively together to improve their lives. That's what we will do on this side of the House. And part of that is actually supporting Scottish energy producers, which he is right, have a vital role to play in enabling our transition to net zero and improving our energy security. And those Scottish companies will have our full support.
Scott Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nearly 40,000 illegal immigrants have crossed the Channel so far this year, landing taxpayers with a hotel bill of £5.6 million per day to accommodate them. Is it any wonder that millions of people in this country are furious with the situation? Prime Minister, during the summer you set out a comprehensive 10-point plan to tackle this issue. Everybody on this side of the chamber wants you to succeed in this aim. When can we expect the firm action the British people are demanding?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know this issue is rightly a priority for my honourable friend. It's a priority for his constituents, and I can reassure them that it is a priority for me and this government too. Whether it's the Nationalities and Borders Act or the further measures we are planning to take, we will defend our borders, stop the illegal crossings, and ensure that there is fairness and compassion in our system. That is the way to restore trust, and that is what his constituents and the British people deserve.
Jimmy Stone.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, I have a constituent who is a supermarket worker. She's paid full weekly because she receives one double salary payment. There's 1 month of the year where she receives no universal credit. Normally not an issue, Mr. Speaker. However, because universal credit is linked to the cost of living payment, my constituency now no longer qualifies for the £320 that could see her through the very worst of a cold Highland winter. What could the Prime Minister do to mend this gap in the cost of living support?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the honourable gentleman is we also provided discretionary funding, which was provided through Barnett to the Scottish Government, especially to deal with cases like the one that he raised. But we'd be very happy if he wants to write to us with the constituents' details to look into it. But discretionary funding was made available, but especially for cases like that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was visited at one of my surgeries in Broxtowe by my constituent, Aaron Horsey. In his arms was his 3-week-old newborn baby, Tim. Aaron's wife, Bernadette, tragically passed away whilst giving birth to Tim. Aaron came to see me regarding the disparity that exists over shared parental leave. The current eligibility requirements differ between that of the surviving birthing partner as compared to the surviving non-birthing partner. And this meant in Aaron's case he was not entitled to leave to raise his son. Would the Prime Minister ensure that both my constituent and I can meet with the relevant minister to make sure that we move towards a future where parents are not in this position?
Prime Minister.
Well, I know the whole House will join me in extending our condolences to Aaron following the tragic loss of his wife, and I thank my honourable friend for raising this issue. Employed parents can benefit from statutory support depending on personal circumstances. I'm very concerned to hear that that is not happening in this case, and I will of course ensure that he gets a meeting with a relevant minister as soon as possible to resolve this issue.
Deirdre Brown.
Mr. Speaker, will the PM join me in condemning opaquely funded so-called think tanks who exert so much influence on gullible politicians that their policies were able to almost crash the UK economy just weeks ago? Open Democracy reports a former member of the Charity Commission has called for the Institute of Economic Affairs to be stripped of its charitable status, saying the very purpose of the IEA, shrinking the state, is political. Is it right this body receives charitable tax status? And will the PM meet with me to discuss the influence bodies such as the IEA exert on politicians, including what influence they still have with him.
Well, Mr. Speaker, obviously charitable status is a matter for the Charities Commission, but more generally, I actually do believe in free speech and vibrant debate of ideas. That is a good thing, and we should do absolutely nothing to stamp it out, even when we disagree with it.
Dr. Julian Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the run-up to the autumn statement, will my right honourable friend do everything he can to persuade the Chancellor to assist those people who took out mortgages in good faith and now are at risk of losing their homes through unaffordable increases?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my right honourable friend is absolutely right to raise mortgage payments. It's why it is absolutely crucial that we put our public finances on a sustainable footing to limit the increase in interest rates, because ultimately that is what puts pressure on people's mortgage payments. That's what this government is determined to do. And in the short term, there are support available through the welfare system for those with mortgage payments, and I hope he can direct his constituent to those.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the continued Russian invasion and the now illegal annexation of parts of Ukraine, will the Prime Minister recommit his government to pursuing the full and proper accountability, including through the International Criminal Court, of those who violate international law in territories that they occupy? And in particular, will he pursue the rigorous application of the 4th Geneva Convention in terms of the treatment of civilian populations in militarily occupied areas?
The honourable gentleman for his question, which is absolutely right. I can confirm we will continue with the policy that the previous government put in place, and I think it's something that we can be proud of, that we provided, I think, the earliest technical support to gather evidence to put cases together for future prosecutions at the ICC. We will continue to gather evidence, provide support to the Ukrainians, because he's absolutely right. What we are hearing is abhorrent, it's wrong, and those who are conducting these things must be held to account.
Simon Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend and I both represent rural constituencies, and he will know the difficulty in securing both NHS dentistry and GPs in rural areas. We on this side of the House know that the financial decisions that he and the Chancellor are going to be taking are going to be tough. Notwithstanding that, can I urge him to ensure that as many initiatives as possible can be supported and put in place in order to make sure that GPs and dentists know that working in rural areas is an attractive place and to encourage their recruitment and retention?
Prime Minister.
My honourable friend is absolutely right about the importance of healthcare provision in rural areas, which our constituents feel acutely because of the distances they have to travel. He has my assurance we will continue to prioritise both dentistry and GP recruitment to make sure that everyone in this country has access to the primary health care that they need and deserve.
Chris Blabb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not going to be bullied into silence by anybody in this House. With the highest peacetime tax rates, food inflation running at 11.6%, mortgage rates rising dramatically, and a £50 billion hole in the public finances, the Prime Minister knows that Britain's broke. What is it about the 12 years of Tory rule and 5 years of him as a minister that has made such a mess of Britain?
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the economy, the honourable gentleman just failed to mention the single biggest cause of the challenges that we face right now, which is absolutely the aftermath of a global pandemic, which has affected supply chains across the world, and an illegal war being conducted by Putin, which is leading to high energy prices. These are the root cause of the challenges we are facing. The challenges we are facing are global in nature. It is wrong to say that they are particular to this country now, and we will, of course, do what we always do on this side of the House, deliver a strong economy for the British people.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In last summer's heatwave, people across Essex witnessed terrible fires. And last month in Ethiopia, I witnessed the horrific climate change-driven drought that is forcing millions of people across the Horn of Africa to the brink of famine. I've discussed climate change with my right honourable friend. I know he cares, and it's great that he's going to Sharm el-Sheikh. But we, the UK, brought the world to Glasgow for COP26. It's vital that we remain world leaders on climate change. So please confirm this government will fulfil the promises that we, the UK, made in Glasgow.
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for her work and role that she has played in us championing the fight against climate change. And I agree with her. There is no long-term prosperity without action on climate change, and there is no energy security without investment in renewables. That's why I will attend COP27 next week to deliver, Mr. Speaker, on Glasgow's legacy of building a secure, clean and sustainable future.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While the Prime Minister was secretly recorded boasting to friends that he had helped divert money away from deprived areas like Coventry towards wealthy areas, staff of Coventry's hospital are still paying £600 a year to park at work. So when will the Prime Minister stop hammering working people in my community?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think the Honourable Lady was asking about car parking in NHS hospitals, if I understood her rightly. We did introduce temporary free car parking during the pandemic. That was the right thing to do. And now, all NHS trusts that charge for parking have implemented our free parking manifesto commitment for those in the greatest need, including hard-working NHS staff who work overnight.
Anthony Bagdell. Speaker, on Back British Farming Day, will the Prime Minister recognise with all members of the House the important role that farmers take and recognise that public money for public good means producing food in this country? But could he also recognise the value that our trade deals are doing in allowing us to export our high-quality produce around the world? In particular, the Australia Agreement, where a member of this House will be able to enjoy a certain delicate cut in his bush trucker trials.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. British farmers are indeed the lifeblood of our nation. I join him in celebrating their contribution. I agree with him we need to prioritise food security, and he is right to champion free trade deals. They open up new markets and new opportunities for great British produce, and we will continue to open up more markets for our farmers everywhere.
Very Sherman.
Mr. Speaker, can I welcome the first Prime Minister from Yorkshire for a very long time, but and I'm trying to be kind to him this morning. Isn't it the fact that since he resigned as Chancellor of the Exchequer on the 5th of July, we've had the most turbulent economic and political disaster in our country than any of us can remember? And when he reflects on that,